John von Neumann, along with Oscar Morgenstern, wrote an important book called The Theory of Games and Economic Behavior. This book laid the foundation for game theory. Now, I know what you're thinking. Game theory? Isn't that something only economists and mathematicians care about? Well, actually, game theory is all around us. It's in the decisions we make every day, the strategies we use to get what we want, and even in the way we interact with each other. Whether it's playing a game, negotiating a deal, or figuring out where to eat, we're constantly thinking strategically. That's what game theory is all about. And today we're diving into some of its coolest concepts. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll start seeing game theory everywhere, and it might just help you win a few arguments along the way. Ever found yourself in a situation where you're making decisions, but so is everyone else, and everyone's decisions depend on everyone else's? That's where the Nash Equilibrium comes into play. Named after the brilliant mathematician John Nash, yes, the guy from A Beautiful Mind, the Nash Equilibrium helps us understand these complex scenarios. Picture this: two competing ice cream vendors on a beach. Each vendor wants to maximize their sales by choosing the best spot on the beach. If they both set up in the middle, they split the market evenly. If one sets up at one end and the other sets up at the opposite end, they each cover half of the beach. But if one vendor moves slightly closer to the middle, they can grab more customers, forcing the other to move closer too. In this scenario, the Nash Equilibrium is when both vendors are right next to each other in the middle of the beach. Here's why. If one vendor tries to move away, they lose customers to the other vendor.
Oh, no!
Neither vendor can improve their sales by changing their location, as long as the other stays put. They've reached a point where their strategies are in balance. The Nash Equilibrium is a situation where no player can benefit by changing their strategy while the other players keep theirs unchanged. It's like a perfectly balanced seesaw. If one person moves, the balance is thrown off. Whether you're negotiating a deal, deciding on a restaurant with friends, or even planning your next chess move, the Nash Equilibrium offers profound insights. All right, let's dive into dominant strategy. It's like the ultimate power move in the game theory world. Imagine you're faced with a decision, and no matter what the other players do, you have a strategy that guarantees the best outcome for you. That's the beauty of a dominant strategy. It's your secret weapon, your go-to move, your ace in the hole. Now let's consider a scenario from the world of social media. You're a content creator trying to grow your following and increase engagement on your posts. You know that the social media landscape is highly competitive, with thousands of creators vying for attention. After analyzing the algorithms and user behavior on different platforms, you realize that regardless of what content strategies other creators use, whether they post frequently, collaborate with other influencers, or experiment with trending formats, your best move is to focus on consistency and authenticity in your content. You understand that building a loyal audience requires establishing a distinct brand identity and delivering value to your followers on a regular basis. In this scenario, prioritizing consistency and authenticity in your content becomes your dominant strategy because it gives you the best chance of building a dedicated fan base and maximizing your reach, regardless of what other creators do. These examples highlight how dominant strategies work in different contexts, from social decisions to strategic games to business negotiations. They show that having a clear understanding of your own preferences, goals, and boundaries can help you identify the best course of action, regardless of what others do. So, next time you find yourself in a tricky situation, think about your dominant strategy. It might just be the key to coming out on top. Now, let's get into zero-sum games. In a zero-sum game, one player's gain is exactly balanced by the losses of other players. Think of it like a seesaw. If one side goes up, the other goes down. Classic examples of zero-sum games include chess and poker. If you win, someone else loses. This concept is key to understanding competitive environments, where resources are limited, and the success of one participant directly impacts the others. If there's only one trophy, only one person can win it, meaning your gain is someone else's loss, vice versa. In stock trading, if Alice buys a stock at a low price and sells it high, she makes a profit. But if Bob buys that stock at a high price and sells it at a lower price, he incurs a loss. Alice's profit equals Bob's loss, making this another zero-sum scenario. Consider a political campaign. If candidate A gains votes, those votes come from candidate B's potential pool. One candidate's gain in votes is the other's loss. Understanding zero-sum games helps us navigate competitive situations where resources are limited, and gains for one party mean losses for another. This concept is key in fields like economics, politics, and sports. Remember, not all situations are zero-sum. In many cases, cooperation can lead to win-win outcomes. But knowing when you're in a zero-sum game can help you strategize better. Ready to master the zero-sum game? Click the video in the corner above to uncover powerful strategies like Minimax and Maximin and get exactly what you want. Moving on, we have the most talked and coolest concept from game theory, the prisoner's dilemma. Imagine you and a friend are arrested for a crime. The police separate you and offer each of you a deal. If you betray your friend and they stay silent, you go free, and they get a heavy sentence. If you both stay silent, you both get light sentences. But if you both betray each other, you both get moderate sentences. The dilemma is that betraying your friend is a dominant strategy. No matter what they do, you're better off betraying them. But if you both betray each other, you end up worse off than if you had both stayed silent. This scenario shows why rational individuals might not cooperate, even when it seems like cooperation would be the best option. It's a powerful way to understand conflict and cooperation in various settings, from politics to business, to personal relationships. In business, companies might benefit from cooperating on setting prices, but the temptation to undercut can lead to a price war, hurting everyone. Or in relationships, trust and cooperation are often better, but fear of betrayal can lead to mutual distrust and worse outcomes for both parties. The prisoner's dilemma broke the psychological world in the 21st century, emerging as one of the most influential concepts in game theory today. Next, let's look at extensive form games. These are games represented in a tree-like structure that shows the sequential nature of decisions. It's used to analyze games where players make decisions at different points in time. Think of a chess game. At each move, you have a tree of possible moves, branching out from the current position. Analyzing the game in extensive form helps you think ahead and plan your strategy, considering how your opponent might respond to each of your moves. This kind of analysis is crucial for understanding complex multi-stage interactions. Imagine you're playing a game where you don't have all the information about your opponent's preferences or strategies. Instead, you have to rely on probabilities and your beliefs about what the opponent might do. This is what Bayesian games are all about, making strategic decisions based on incomplete information and updating your beliefs as you gain more information. This blend of intrigue and strategy, where every move is a calculated gamble and every opponent a mystery to unravel, defines the essence of Bayesian games. So, take a seat at the table, keep your cards close, and your wits even closer. Because in this game, knowledge isn't just power, it's everything.